A few weeks later, not much had changed in Germany. Jews and other undesirables were being loaded into trains and were deported to extermination camps. Hitler was still a very prominent figure of the Third Reich. Axel and Roxas were still as close as ever, trying to hide the fact that Roxas was Jewish. So far, they had been lucky, but the seemingly Aryan SS could be discovered at any moment.
Is it mean if I say that I can't wait for him to be discovered? I really just want to see what Hitler's reaction to it is. And I can't imagine that it would be too hard for Roxas to hide the fact that he's Jewish, seeing as he conveniently looks Aryan and he hasn't told anyone yet. You know, the author's trying to build tension here, but she's failing miserably. So, they go to Dachau, and we get more hijinks, because death camp is now as synonymous with bucket of fun. And I need to vomit again.
The simple car ride to the extermination camp seemed like years. Demix wouldn't stop talking for the first half hour before he suddenly fell asleep. It was nice until he started snoring so loudly that he would wake the dead. Poor Sakes had to slap Demix in the face until the latter woke up.
We may be going to a death camp, but we sure do know how to have some fun. My soul hurts. Look at this kitten for a minute. Okay, I'm better. For now. At this camp we meet Larxene, who the author has turned into some poor man's Mengel.
There are too many here. Larxene spoke for the first time. I have too many people and not enough time to perform experiments on all of them.
She wants to build a death camp and is then never seen or heard from again. Yay, whatever. Roxas wanders off and surveys the scene.
Roxas tuned out the conversation and allowed his ocean blue eyes to wander out the window. The death camp here wasn't as bad as Auschwitz, but it was bad enough. The barracks were in horrid conditions, certainly not one fit for living. A layer of filth seemed to cover the entire camp.
It may be a death camp, but it's not that bad. I mean, it's not Auschwitz, and... oh God. I am sick and tired of how this author keeps telling us what everybody's eye color is. I'm just really sick of it.
What horrified Roxas the most were the people. He wasn't scared of them because they were Jews. He wasn't scared of them at all, actually. He was just horrified that a person could look like that and still be alive.
In what is supposed to be a powerful and moving scene, Roxas sees a woman holding a dead baby and weeping hysterically. The fact that the author is so blasé about describing it, and the fact that she gives more detail to Roxas's eye color, makes her look like an insensitive bitch who I increasingly find myself wanting to beat to a bloody pulp. You know, the kittens just aren't doing it for me anymore. I've got to up the ante. Here's something cuter. The author then pauses to recap the Treaty of Versailles and to get most of it all wrong.
One of the conditions of the Treaty of Versailles was that the German army would be greatly reduced. Almost nothing was left of Germany after the war. And then the Depression hit, which left many Germans worse than before the end of World War I. The lines to the soup kitchens stretched for blocks in Berlin. It seemed that no end was in sight, that Germans would be suffering forever.
Alright, Wikipedia. I know you're not the most accurate source, but let's see what you can tell us. Let's see. So, the German armed forces were greatly reduced after World War I. In fact, Germany was blamed for the war and was made to pay reparations, which is why it fell into such a devastating depression. Alsace and most of Lorraine were given back to France, and Germany was forbidden from reuniting with Austria to gain up lost land. German colonies were also taken away and divvied up between Belgium and the UK. And because Germany blew up a whole bunch of coal mines in France, Belgium, and Italy during World War I, they had to give up all their coal. Research is your friend. The author then gives us some background about Hitler.
Hitler officially became the Chancellor of Germany on January 30th, 1933. He banned all political parties except for his. the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or the Nazis. He didn't like the German army at all. Hitler thought that there were too many Jews and gays in the army. And he was right. In the early days of the Third Reich, many of the SS and the Son were gay.
Most of what was in that paragraph is completely irrelevant to this story. Also, I didn't find any references to the German army being composed entirely of Jews and gays until Hitler showed up, but what do I know? I don't love learning about Nazis.
Hitler had convinced all of the German people to believe that the Jews were the enemy, that they were the ones who should be punished. No, Hitler had brainwashed them.
Okay, I'm going to point out, at the risk of being mauled to death by those who just don't know better, the Jews were not the first minority targeted by Hitler. This isn't to say that they weren't targeted, rounded up, and executed. They just weren't the first group. Hitler started off relatively small. He went after the physically and mentally handicapped first, arguing that they just weren't useful anyway. Then came homosexuals, gypsies, blacks, communists, Jews, etc., etc., etc. Hitler used them as scapegoats, convincing everyone that Jews and other minorities were the cause of the economic depression. He furthermore promised that Germany would be returned to its former glory if all of these undesirables were eliminated. Yes, he did brainwash the people, but it is not as easy as this author makes it sound. It was a slow and gradual process. It did not happen overnight. I'm also wondering what this segment is doing in this story. Why is this author giving us this brief and poorly researched snippet about history? Is she trying to educate us? Is she trying to show off her own intelligence? Why is this scene here? We're then treated to a scene wherein our progressive, forward-thinking protagonists discuss the atrocities of war.
It's because people don't understand, Axel explained. They don't understand how much it hurts to see things like this or to experience it for themselves. And unless they experience it, they won't know what it's like.
I am going to point out that you were really, really, really excited to join the SS, Axel. You were excited and happy that you got the job. Why the sudden change in character now? We then get an author's note, no doubt designed to further confuse us.
Hey yo, it's Mika-chan. For the record, this story is taking place in 1940 for the time being. World War II is just beginning if you're counting from the official start, which is the invasion of Poland in 1939. Anyway, I just wanted to clarify that little point. On with the deadly tale.
Stop calling it a deadly tale. I find that obnoxious.
Roxas and Axel could tell that the German people were getting excited about the war. They thought that they would win, that they were going to show the world what they could have done back in World War I. Axel and Roxas, however, knew how foolish this was. Axel believed that the German army was going to be destroyed very soon, but when was unknown.
Okay, I am really sick of the way this author is portraying these characters. She wants them to be open-minded and tolerant of others, but she made them Nazis. If they feel so strongly that the Nazi Party is wrong, why did they join it in the first place? Why were they so excited and happy about becoming card-carrying members of the SS? And why have they suddenly changed their minds about the whole thing? Why weren't they doing anything about it? Oh, I seem to recall there was like this one guy, and he was like real tight with the SS, like this. But then he had a change of heart. He wound up rescuing nearly 1,200 people from gas chambers. Oh, who was that again? You have got to be shitting me. Bingo, that's him. Now, if this story had turned out to be like some poorly written Schindler's List style fanfiction, maybe I wouldn't be quite so pissed off. Because then at least we could all say, oh, look, she's not trying to be offensive. She's having her poorly written characters doing something noble and worthwhile. But no. This author's poorly written characters are having fucking hijinks in concentration camps.